Cross my heart and hope to fly. Stick a cupcake in my... Ah! Okay, when I said home, I was really thinking of something along the lines of chapel, or, even Star House specifically. I murmured as we trudged along the railroad towards Hoofington. From here, even the dark, rolling clouds over the city somehow looked darker and more rolling-y than the clouds elsewhere in the wasteland. Heck, even being teleported inside a chlorine-choked stable seemed more likely than to me. The 8 metal rails stretched as far ahead of us and behind us as we could see. Clearly, some pony had gone to great lengths to clear these tracks. The least pitted and rusted lengths of them all over the wasteland, it looked like, had been selected to repair a single line, and the ties that were too badly rotted had been replaced. The goddess will not risk any more of her children in that place, not until the enervation dilemma is resolved, Lacuna said softly. You know how multiple alicorns cause the renalization effect, and technically, we are within the old Equestrian territorial province of Hoofington. Technically, the goddess can kiss my dock, Rampage murmured as we passed a rusted switching station with a sign that read, Hoofington, 22 miles. Wine, 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 I said with a roll of my eyes. A few days in 10 pony and you all go soft. I didn't feel tired at all, though, of course, I was kind of cheating. Ponies is always whining, Rover agreed with a snort. What we really need is a form of transportation like little pips, P21 said. Glory lowered her eyes and he glanced over. Not necessarily a sky wagon, but some way to get around that doesn't involve all of us being worn out by walking. He stopped and looked speculatively at a simple little hoof cart sitting by a covered spur behind the switching station. He rubbed his chin. Hey, Scotch, are you pondering what I'm pondering? Scotch blinked at the hoof cart and then at the scrubland around us. I think so. P21, but where are we going to find a dozen rockets out here? P21 looked back at her flatly. What? The filly said defensively. A little bit later, Scotch had checked over the car and found it good to go. I smiled as they pushed it out and onto the repaired track. Well, I suppose it's an improvement, but now you're going to get all worn out working these levers. P21 looked at me, and then a small smile grew on his face. What? Glory glanced at me apologetically. Rampage grinned, and even Scotch was smirking. Why are you looking at me like that? I asked as I took a step back. What? You know, I'm supposed to be the hero leader thingy, I said as I trotted along. Little Pip's friends wouldn't make her do this. P21, it's making that whining noise again, Scotch Tape said as I hauled the hoof cart along the tracks, the wheels squealing softly despite the grease the filly had pumped into the bearings. In addition to the grease gun, P21 had found a dozen or so caps, some bits, and some scrap metal while searching the switch house and maintenance shed. Because it's a pony engine, Rover said with a snort. Well, work the reins a bit till it stops, the buck said as he lay back with his saddlebags pillowing his head. The filly slapped the ropes against my non-metallic ass, making me jump, blush, and glare back at my friends. See? Pretty responsive, actually. You all suck, I murmured darkly. It's just till we get to Hoofington, Glory assured me as we were rolling along. Then she rubbed her chin. Though, really, we might be able to find a wagon with intact wheels and tires. It'd certainly save us a whole lot of walking. I thought you said you weren't going to turn this into a regular thing, I protested as I tugged against the harness and received another smack from the reins. Yeah, but that was before we found out how sweet it is to not walk our hooves to the nub, Rampage said with a laugh as she deftly sharpened her horned blade on the spinning rear wheel. I looked at Lacuna, gliding effortlessly beside me with a small smile on her lips. What? Oh, nothing. The alicorn's amusement was nearly palpable. I just thought I'd mention that there's a train coming this way. I looked ahead and spotted a dark shape on the tracks ahead of me. Lacuna lifted the hoof car onto some neighboring spurs as it got closer and closer, and... What the hell is that? I gasped. Clearly, the idea of having a pony pulling a cart wasn't new, but I never imagined a pony like this before. He was colossal. Twice as big, no, 10 times as Big Macintosh. His bright blue hide dripped with sweat as he walked along on hooves almost as big as my entire body. Bright yellow eyes looked down at us, and he gave a great snort at the sight of me hooked to the cart. "Wuss," the giant pony murmured as they rolled past. "Goliath! Don't you be talking to no riffraff!" shrieked a bony yellow unicorn mare from a little platform atop his back. "You let me handle this, you hear? You just keep on walking till you hit the every spur." "Yes, Mama," he sighed. He pulled 3 enormous rusty tankers and 2 flatbeds loaded with hundreds of stacked barrels. Scraggly ponies with hunting rifles watched us sullenly as they rolled by. There was a bright flash, and the bony unicorn mare appeared before me. "What's your business on this here railway?" she asked as she glared at, every pony. She twitched in aggravation. "And land's sakes, which of you is a pony in charge?" "That would be me," I said. She took one look at me in the harness and summed up my failed management skills in one look. "Right. Really? Which one of yours in charge?" she said, then looked at Lacuna. "You're with Red Eye?" "What if we are?" P-21 said coolly. "Then, I'd say you better have my pay ready. Express don't work no fancy talk of glorious futures. We work on pay per load, you hear?" she snapped. I noticed she had a huge scar across her belly. Landmine? My own stomach muscles twitched in sympathy. I wasn't exactly sure I had guts anymore. Glory looked back at the immense pony. "What happened?" She scowled at Glory. "'Tain't none of your beeswax, that's what happened." "But he's huge," Glory stammered, her jaw hanging open. "He's blue too," Scotch said dryly. "Just in case you missed that, Glory." The yellow unicorn snorted, but gave a little smirk to the olive filly. "My boy's the damnedest, biggest, strongest, dumbest, hungriest heap of pony who ever tangled with blue weed. Eats a whole damn tree every time we get him back along the Everfree." "Ah, killing joke," Lacuna said calmly. The yellow mare glared at the alicorn, but didn't deny it. "You're the Goliath Express, then?" "Hauling anything from Philly D to Trots to the Hoof to any damn place in between, if the pay's right," the crotchety old unicorn said proudly. Then she looked at Glory and pointed behind her at her son. "He's Goliath, in case you missed that." "But what's that stuff?" P-21 asked, as he looked at the receding train cars. She glared at him sourly and suspiciously. "Weren't paid to chat," she snapped. "Got better things to do than flap my lips at 6 idiots and a half-metal dog." I frowned, wondering if I'd have to thump her to get her my answers. Then reconsidered. Really, she was just trying to make a living. Be kind. "Scotch," I said as I looked at the filly. "Can you get me, say, 600 caps?" The filly dug through my saddlebags, found the painted bits of metal, and handed them out to the sour mare. "Now you are?" She took the caps in her magic, separated one into to look at it sharply, bit it, then shrugged and slipped them into her saddlebags. "You fail bribery 101, she snorted. "Kinda blatant, don't you think?" "You want caps? I want answers. You'd prefer alternative methods?" I asked, getting a few looks from my friends. Was I really threatening this scrawny yellow mare? Even I wasn't sure. For some reason, I felt my annoyance growing faster than usual. She seemed to pick up on my mood and relented, nodding towards the train. Barrels are full of some flamer fuel Red Eye wants. Burner Boy's been mixing it up special in the refinery for weeks now. The tankers? Don't know and don't want to know. Got a whole nother load waiting for us after this one, she said with a shrug. And have you been doing this long? Rampage asked. Working for Red Eye, I mean. She twisted her mouth into a scowl, before shrugging. Nah, Red Eye was using Ulstry to provide the materials. When she couldn't, Red Eye sent his boys. Then, rather than a couple dozen loads, he paid us to move it all for him in 5. She looked at me in the eyes with a frown, but then shrugged. Anywho, you tell that glowy-eyed son of a bitch I want my caps, and no funny business when this is over, you hear? Or else my boy'll turn that there fancy building into his next outhouse. Mama! Bawled the immense blue pony, his voice echoing across the scrubland. Your train's leaving without you, Glory said. The bony mare rolled her eyes in scorn. Goddess's sake! Anything else profound you want to say? Point out that it's a cloudy day? Tell me the water's wet? One-winged idiot. The bony pony unicorn snorted with a bright yellow flash and disappeared. I could barely make the corresponding flash on the back of the enormous pony. I closed my mouth, open to ask her about what had happened in the hoof, and then huffed softly. I guess I'd have to find out what happened in the hoof the hard way. You want to stop 'em? A few good blasts into those barrels should make some pretty expressive shows, Rampage said as Acuna lifted the hoof car back onto the tracks. I sighed. I'm probably going to regret this, but no. They didn't attack us, and I really don't want to know what Goliath can do in a fight. Let's get home. I want to find out just what's going on there. I lowered my head. Let's see if I can't get a little more speed out of these things, I yelled as I started to run instead of walk. The sooner I got back, the better.